Wound, pages 32 to 47. Archimedes II has docked with the space station of the Royal Cooperative, also known as Gear International. Today has been a successful and historic day. The next phase after a brief layover in low Earth orbit is the springboarding of the ship to Mars. Upon loading into the space station, mile-long launch chamber, and a replacement of an oxygen-free blasting cap that safely ignites with hydrogen in the base for a more energetic propulsion blast towards the target 35.4 million miles away. The space station dock is to load the ship with supplies for Esteban, whom is from Spain, and Meredith, whom is from France. Sex is strictly forbidden in this mission, though highly unlikely, though all is videoed and broadcast to the internet, yet not probable since Meredith Garamond is 76 years old and Esteban Alvarez is 28. Just in case, even their going to the lavatory is broadcast live down to Earth. Their very jobs depend upon appropriate behavior. It should be noted that both Stellarnauts are married to their spouses on Earth, and a ticker tape parade will not likely stem from sexual passion between the two. Doctors Alvarez and Garamond understand maintaining a respect for the position of stellar-nautical academics as very well-regarded educators across the cooperative. Alvarez and Garamond are much sought-out television guests and have been for years. Garamond was the first to accelerate a photon faster than light and to stop light particles completely. Alvarez discovered Proxima b was the nearest rocky planet in the habitable zone of its home star. Both these contributions will help along Archimedes II to be launched in a speculative 15 years. The cooperative only sends its best. King Reginald barely went out during the first 6 years of his reign. Until he met Elizabeth, he was a virtual shut-in except for official transfers of governance. He did everything in his personal section of the Royal Castle of Paris. The people liked him. He's sometimes called the people's king of science. He holds no degree other than a high school diploma. Reggie did and still does a science program on French popular broadcasting where he narrated from a script. It was his older sisters, Duchesses Lorraine and Haumea, who urged him to go to the Friday dances until he found someone. At 38, he found the 18-year-old Liz, a college student studying nursing at Seine River Community College. 6 months later, they were married and she became a queen and a senator under the highest scrutiny other than the king by the subject representative, populace, that leads the assembly. Queen Beatrix is well liked. Her ultimate goal is to become an RN and work as an RN while not neglecting her senatorial duties with her cedarwood encased smartphone. Smartphones are slightly heavier than we know them. Instead of plastic, they utilize wood, glass, metal, and a fiber polymer constructed out of seashells and feathers, which is their equivalent to plastic. They can produce a holographic readout if needed that can only be seen on the face but not on the back. They also have a much greater computing speed than even a home desktop. This technology won't be available on our slice of the timeline until around 2100 AD. Internet is everywhere for free via phase light Wi-Fi. All storage is thrown to a cloud system with unlimited data storage. You might find yourself wondering why 1200 AD Earth is at the level of advancement of our current understanding of a speculative 21 AD Earth. It all took a divergent turn in 48 BC, Alexandria. After the failed sacking of the Library of Alexandria by Caesar, there was a dramatic push for science, math, literature, history, art, and all educated studies. Calculus ended up being invented 800 years before Newton, under King Charlemagne. Jesus and Muhammad were never reported as existing. Socrates was martyr enough, and after years as a philosophical school of thought, Socrates eventually bursted onto the scene as a religion, much like punk rock didn't fully take grasp on radio for years until Kurt Cobain popularized the genre. By 1000 AD, most of the world was in a direct democracy, in conjunction with the royalty, along with spaceflight leading to the settlement of the moon in the mid-12th century. By 1200, sex with males under 35 years old was prohibited by law on the king's 35th birthday in 1196. Male reproductive telomerase was found to give offspring stronger DNA in 1188. As inbreeding was prohibited along with incest in the early 10th century, the case was a clear comparison to sociopathic greed from incest configurations that also lead to mass violence and disease requiring remedy intelligencing even after the squash of incest, as well as pedophile pregnancy leading to similar biological malfunctions. The Friday dances became popular in the king's infancy as a childhood duke before he could serve as a senator shortly after the formalities of turning 16, when his ascension declared him an adult within the cooperative, and he was bestowed the honor of senator duke at 16 is the age in which a person becomes a woman or man in the royal cooperative. The dances introduce women who are at least 16 to men who are at least 35. This might seem strange to us, but they'd be baffled by 27% of our civilization is diagnosed as mentally ill, why greed wasn't regulated, and would immediately tie the lacking sperm telomerase from older males to why we hadn't settled the moon or why we weren't on Mars by the second decade of the 21st century if the pollution in the water, land, and air didn't kill them first after gasping for breath like a crash landing into the sick, claustrophobic atmosphere of Venus. Most of the meat in the realm is in vitro. That is, butchers took a slice of the animal thinner than a rolling paper at a translucent shred as big as a male pinky fingernail and grew the cut of meat at exacting specifications within 30 seconds. One chicken could feed thousands at one scrape of the skin. Now they have all that DNA data on hand along with the raw sources to complete a full cut of meat from material found in garbage. Animals are almost never killed for food, neither are plants. The average life expectancy of humans is 153. In our timeline, a mean lifetime at the height of the average is 84. The Still or Not don't factually eat dehydrated food. That was an anachronism written at first in a misunderstanding. The proper causeway is that they eat recycled food just like everyone else. They have a year's supply of raw trash smashed and pulverized into a silver ooze like we might expect to see masticated by a food processor with a very fast and sharp blade. Mars has to have stillernauts to both assemble the return launcher with a button press, set up a habitation for 20 researchers, and to actually set foot on Mars, something humans have yet to do in either timeline. Nothing captures the human imagination quite like doing something. The moon has a population of 500,000. The Royal Cooperative has been on the moon for 50 years. They settled. We did not. We went back home and perseverated on a useless war over fossil fuels. They never relied on pollutants for energy. They wound up here like a clock. We gassed out for 50 years. This is why the Royal Cooperative is 100 years more advanced than modern-day industrial Western democracy, 1,200 years past Caesar when we're 2,000 past. The city on the moon is called Tidal. They have a baron, baroness, and 2 grade school-aged children with the titles of Lord and Lady, along with representative subjects that together have more power than the nobles in their vote. They all conflagrate every Friday night with their kids and grandkids over food and music in a faux outdoors dome adjacent from the rest of the town. There are frequent rocket launches back to Earth offered once a week. Tidalians are given 6 weeks free hotel stays a month at any castle on the planet. There is a launch to Terra, otherwise known as Earth, once a week. The kids are only allowed to travel to Terra in the Northern Hemisphere summer because of school, but that does give 12 weeks. Children on Terra and the moon are given the right to switch families to learn about the world and to tour colleges before graduation. The moon is named Luna. It has a junior high school and 2 grades. It has a junior, senior high school and 2 grade schools. There are no colleges on World. Terrans do not allow online schooling since travel speeds are so rapid and taxation makes all schools free as long as grades are kept at an average of beta. Slipping into Gamma is a compulsory time to be tutored until the tutor sees marked improvement to at least beta from Gamma, Delta, or Epsilon. One more low quarter resorts in further tutoring. Alpha level students are shopped around to potential employers. They also get Terrari to spend. Alpha Plus students receive about $1,000 a month. Alpha students receive $500. Alpha minus students receive $250 as per our currency conversion to US dollars. College is very important to the Terran lifestyle and is the only way to find work. There are many homeless shelters for the unemployable to mingle with the unreasonable. You are guaranteed a stipend like all citizens of $1,000 cash and $200 food for missions on a beneficiary card each month. Everyone receives this bare minimum whether homeless or not. Shelter beds are not luxurious, although you will sleep well until 6 a.m. as long as you can stand a 10 p.m. bedtime. Your day can be spent walking around or in the sitting section feeling alone and lonely. Most of the homeless are the males past 50. Most of the females are addicted to coca leaves and opium poppies. All drugs are legal for people 16 years old and older. Even the ones that destroy the body and mind are unprohibited. It might be wise to reach that beta at the college level. You can get a girl with drugs, or you can get a girl by saving your body and mind. College doesn't sound all that bad. Those Friday dances don't always mean you'll find love. Patient observation does mean that you'll probably find you. Men under 35 can't have sex. That does restrict the male selection. Since this restriction went into place, an entire sex bot industry was wound up to keep younger males entertained and out of the way. Younger males are present at the dances, but the watch keep the young males separated from touching or talking to the females unless one is buying food or drinks from the other. There is a fair share of citizen monitoring going on since relations with males under 35 is an act of pedophilia, criminal level 2, which guarantees imprisonment for no less than 10 years. There is no appeals court in the cooperative. You serve your term. Pedophilia level 1 is sexual congress with anyone under 16 and carries a 25-year sentence. Rape, murder, and theft or any variation rape, murder, and theft carry various levels of punishment. Treason is not a crime when there's a one-world government. The royals are considered a family. As incest is illegal, the royals have to marry a subject. The King of Belgium is married to an Ethiopian tribal chiefess as sort of a scoff at how far the law has gone, because technically that is a marriage between royals. But the king had always been a rebel. He tried to remove England from the cooperative unsuccessfully for 4 years. He was almost deposed were he not so entertaining. The Queen of Germany married their gardener when she was 18 and he was 46. They've been married for 114 years. Citizens talk about those old days of intra-ageism, no different than either timeline belittles incest. They call it age-cest. It carries as much weight in degradation as we chastise rednecks and hippies. We are talking about something that breaks DNA here. There isn't anything in the discussion to where you can compromise over incest. People who have sex often fall in love. People in love often want to have kids. Inbreeding damages the whole of society. Older fathers were proven to give kids stronger DNA. The Terrans are genetically no different from humans. These people are 800 years beyond us. With humans currently walking on Mars, the Royal Cooperative is bolstered more in peace through the last real war was 400 years ago, during the conquest of Charlemagne, until he learned of Socrates, and conquests were against reason in terms of human life, seeing other outlets for belligerent violence, such as international sports that help bond warring tribes and later warring nations through competitive play. Kingdoms formed on mutual respect for their serfs. Empires formed of kingdoms, and empires united into the cooperative with respect for self-governing semi-sovereign monarchies under a shared banner, united by a charter voted on by the royal subjects in a joint representation with the royal senate. The cooperative does have one leader. They're called the pharaoh. There was careful regard to have an odd number of kings and queens. Television and movies are different in the cooperative. All cinema and serials are performed live on a stage and captured on digital camera. All advertisements cut to the local affiliate where they act the ads out for local venues and eateries. Most people make their own food from raw ingredients. Prepackaged food and fast food is non-existent. The restaurants are all real sit-down restaurants. Every person gets a stipend just for living. Eating out once a week on this stipend is very possible and nearly impossible to avoid. It's possible. There are food banks to where $50 spent a week per person on food for the poorest to survive on the stipend alone can make it quite healthfully, invariably. Going to the grocery store is more like going to the farmer's market. Some people do grow and raise their own food. In fact, many do. You can even skip the process entirely by having the gray sledge pumped into the food recycler where the raw ingredients are made from garbage for human consumption before your very eyes. You have to assemble them. Your stipend will cover $200 of the cost of a month. That's a lot of sledge for food. Food is cheap. In our conversion, If this was modern money, a loaf of bread would cost 5 cents even in this futuristic 13th century. The point is that nobody is really poor here. What they consider poor is what we would call upper middle class in a gated community with a 2-story house and a 2-car garage. That's the lowest rung of society. People elect to live in a nice apartment in the city to save money.